Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio. I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. And when I started this show in 2008, I was on a mission to promote women-owned businesses and help women succeed by providing resources and valuable tips from other women and men, small business owners. In each interview, my guests speak openly about their triumphs, the scary times, and tough decisions they had to make along the way. Women Entrepreneurs Radio is about showing women how to harness their natural strengths to achieve success on their own terms. Hi everyone, welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio, and I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. I'm so glad you could join me today, and if you're listening to this on Podomatic, you can also listen on iTunes. So please make sure that you check us out there and also subscribe and leave a review or comments if you've enjoyed the show, because that will always help the show to be found by more people. So please make sure that you do that as well. So we're going to get started today with my guest, Melinda Chen, and she's a sales coach helping female entrepreneurs sell to big clients. She's also a sales executive with an impressive sales track record of 8 figures. Her company, Women Making Big Sales, allows female entrepreneurs to start connecting and sell to big clients in 5 weeks. Melinda grew up in an entrepreneurial family. When she first started her sales career after university, she wanted to know everything about selling. So she spent years reading over 20 books in sales, made over 5,000 cold calls, and worked with agents, reps, and corporate clients around the world. Since then, she's mastered the art of selling to big companies and made sales in the Americas, Europe, and Asia, covering a wide range of industries. She's inspired to help women take control of their lives by going for big clients, closing important deals, and dramatically expanding their businesses. So welcome, Melinda. It's really great to have you here.
Hey, Deborah. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I really am excited about this topic, as we had chatted a little bit before we started, because there's a lot of women business owners, I'm sure, who they start a business and have an idea, have a product, service, and then they really want to get, level up, and they just don't know how to do that, how to break through. So I'm excited to find out more about that. But before we get started on that topic, it sounds like you've been an entrepreneur all your life, and could you just share a little bit more about your own journey?
Yeah. Well, my beginning of the first part of my journey really focused on sales and marketing side. So I grew up into a very entrepreneurial family, as you mentioned. So by age 15, I started practically going to trade shows because my parents, I'm actually from Asia. So by age 15, I was able to speak English, and my dad, he owns his business, and he figured that, hey, your English is good enough to start helping me translate. So I would start going to trade shows and be the translator. But that was the moment I really started to get really, really excited about business. There's so much creativity in it, innovations, and it's just the energy. I was fascinated by that. Mm-hmm. So grew up, I always knew I wanted to be in business. I got into sales, and I figured, reality, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was studying marketing when I was in university, and I got an opportunity to be the international sales manager for one of the largest language institutions in the world. So the mandate was to sell our program to the agents around the world, from South America, Asia, and Europe. So I thought that would be great experience to be able to go to trade shows, talk to people around the world. So I decided to take that job. Mm-hmm. But then I realized that I was really not good at it. And I noticed that, not everybody wanted to talk to me just because I thought I had a great program. It was a company with great reputation. But, I started noticing that it was difficult to establish relationships, especially I was so young. And some of the agents, they were very, very seasoned. They definitely knew how to talk to me, how to negotiate, and even dismiss some of the things I said. And that's when I realized that even though I went to university, but nobody ever really taught me the proper system or the proper way, the art of selling. Nobody ever taught me that, and that's when I really, really spent a lot of time learning that. And fast forward, because that was 15 years ago, and I did a lot of research. I realized how important it was to learn how to sell, because practically anything we want to do in life, we had to know how to sell. So I was determined to stay in that industry, even though I wasn't really good at it. I was really shy, and even now, like I'm naturally a very private person. So even though I'm not naturally a good salesperson, I realized that it's something I had to learn. And I started getting better at it, and I also learned a lot from some very seasoned sales professionals. So I started using the sales knowledge to really sell around the world. And over the past 15 years, I've sold in different industries, and specifically sold to big companies. And then about 5 years ago, even though I was representing different accounts and I was selling for different companies, 5 years ago, I had my first child. And I started getting involved in the female entrepreneurs communities. And I started really talking to a lot of very inspiring female entrepreneurs. We're going through this great revolution that women are really redefining work-life balance. We're trying to create something of our own, something that we want to be able to share with our family. But I noticed that a lot of women are really struggling with selling, and especially selling to big companies. And it's so important to sell to established companies or bigger accounts, because that will be the only way to make sure that your project or business survives. Because if people keep selling to small accounts, a lot of times we tend to waste a lot of our time or energy. We get discouraged. We cannot charge for what we're really worth. We're constantly giving things for free, away for free. And I realized how important it was to sell to help female entrepreneurs sell to bigger companies and established clients. And I had that knowledge, and I started coaching. I started consulting for female entrepreneurs, and that's when I decided to really create Women Making Big Sales, and specifically helping female entrepreneurs learn the art of selling. And let me be your sales manager. Let me show you. Let me create a sales campaign that you can use to go after bigger clients. And that's basically the journey. It's been a wild ride. It's been crazy. Like right now, I'm still a sales executive. I still represent a few companies to help them sell to big clients. And so there's a lot of roles I'm playing. But it's been very rewarding.
That's such a fantastic story and journey that you've had. And I think that talking about sales is something that a lot of times people are so nervous about. And, I want to say particularly women entrepreneurs, because a lot of women who go into business that I've spoken to and that, I know of, go into it maybe not necessarily because they want to build an empire, but they maybe just want to have their own thing and get out of the 9 to 5 and take care of themselves, families, all that. So their mind might not be on, I'm going to sell. They may not have that immediately in mind. So selling seems kind of scary. It's, oh my goodness, how can I get out there and talk to people that way? So I can understand the fear, because I totally get it. But, when it comes to approaching these big clients, how do you, help your clients to do that? How do you help them to see that this is something they can do?
Yeah, well, that's really definitely the biggest question. How do you overcome that fear? And especially when you're trying to sell to, if you look at when you do the research, you're trying to sell to the founder of a specific company. Sometimes the title could be CEO, VP, director, and it just all seems so intimidating. And I always consider that it's learning how to sell. It's almost like my son is right now, he's trying to learn how to swim. He's 5 years old. But it's a little bit like learning how to swim. And especially when you're just starting, I like to say that take baby step. The first thing is, it's like learning how to swim. Get in the water. You don't have to expect yourself to start swimming right away, but expose yourself to your clients. I would say you don't have to start selling your program, but go to some networking events or do the research. Be around the LinkedIn programs where your ideal LinkedIn groups where your ideal clients might be, or the first baby step I always encourage people is expose yourself to your ideal clients. And that's really the first thing. And the second thing that I always share with my clients or help my clients, let me be your sales manager. Let me be your sales manager. We have different programs from 5 weeks to 12 weeks. But just let me be your sales manager, because by seeing me, by looking at what I do and how I approach it, that is the best way to really learn something. It's almost like, hey, if you want to learn how to swim, let me show you a few tricks. Let me show you how I do it. And at the same time, let's take baby steps. So theories aside, I think there are a lot of books out there trying to teach you how to sell. But I always find, through trial and errors, and I'm always trying to find ways to tell people, how do I help people overcome the fear of selling? And I find the most effective way is that, hey, let me be your sales manager, and let me show you, assuming that you want to sell to this person, these are the steps I take, and these are the information I gather. So the second thing is, look behind the scene. Let somebody take you behind the scene and to see how it's done, because if you break down the success, it's really not that complicated. So that would be the second step, and the third step is knowledge of your clients. And I think a lot of times we have the fear of selling is because we don't know what to expect. We only see the title, we see that name, but we don't know anything about this person. It's a complete stranger to us. And having that information of a client, I think, is extremely important, and it's empowering, because the more information you gather about a person, the more you can have that vision, have that picture of the kind of person you want to talk to, and you start to feel more familiar, right? But these are the three big steps that I really encourage people to take. Have a small exposure, baby step exposures, and break down the success, and really gather as much information as possible of your ideal client.
And I think that's great advice, and especially what you're saying about gather information, because I'm sure a lot of people listening have had experiences with someone trying to sell something, and they don't really even know what you want or who you are, and they're just trying to push something on you. I'm sure there's women that you meet who have that fear, I'm going to be pushy. What do you say to them about that?
Oh yeah, I definitely understand. You don't want to be pushy, and that's why it's so important, especially in today's age. Let's face it, it's a very busy world out there. There's a lot of information. Everybody is telling us what to do or trying to sell us something. And I have been in sales for 15 years, and it never worked when I'm trying to be pushy. It will never work. So don't worry about sounding pushy. It's because, if you sound pushy, that means that you're not sure whether you're really providing the value. So what I would really suggest is focus on, discovering your client's urgent pains before you even meet with them. And the focus should be inspiration. People hate to be sold to, but they're always looking for inspiration. So what information, ask yourself, challenge yourself, what information you have of your client that, that shows that, you're most aligned with their needs, and what are their most, I call it net bleeding pains. Do the research of your clients, go through their LinkedIn page, and do the research about the industries. What are the industry trends? And it's very easy. And, Google whatever industry you're targeting, just simply Google the industry's name, trend, 2016. Assuming that people are listening this podcast in 2016, just Google, and there will be tons and tons of information about what companies are facing in this year. What are the challenges? What are the trends? And and these are the things that your clients are thinking about. And I think we're really going through this amazing time where you have so much information in front of you about your target clients. And that is, trust me, it's definitely a lot easier to sell to big clients now than 15 years ago when there was not a lot of information on the internet. So do the research, and there's tons of research you could do. And once you write down all the potential pains, and then just put it down in the left column or left side of your paper and right side. Break down your service and how do you make sure that part of your service aligned to certain pains. And when you have that clear idea of how your service align to your clients' really potential pains, then go out there and say, hey, by the way, I noticed certain things, and I've got some ideas. Would you like to hear about it? And it's a very simple conversation. Or, hey, I was just looking on the internet. I noticed that you just had an interview, and I've got a few ideas. Would you like to talk about it? And that is really where the conversation starts. And it doesn't have to be pushy. And the moment you think that you're sounding pushy, then it's fine. Go back to your research and say, why am I pushing? Why am I being pushy? Maybe what I'm talking about is not urgent enough. It does not really align with the client's pains yet.
That's a good point. So you can kind of see yourself if you feel that you're really pushing too hard and not feeling comfortable, that maybe there's some more research you should be doing so you could better understand.
Definitely, and be very prepared. Know what you want to say. Always be very succinct, very focused in terms of what you're trying to say. Don't waste your big client's time, but always challenge yourself to do as much research as possible to know more about your clients.
Right. That's true. That should be the first thing that we think about before we approach someone, instead of just trying to tell them what we want them to know, want them to have, trying to push something on them that they may have no interest in. Then if you find out what they want, that makes perfect sense. I have a question also about selling. Some people are trying to sell to other businesses,
yes,
and some to consumers. Is there, in your experience, do you feel that there's a big difference between the two?
Oh yes, definitely. I think when you're trying to sell to businesses, you have to understand how businesses, they evaluate an option versus a consumer. And the first thing about selling to businesses is a lot of times selling to business, the decision maker, the person who's actually making the decision, you probably the approach to get in front of them is probably a bit different compared to the approach you made to approach a client, a consumer. So a lot of business, especially owners or VPs or executives, they are not going to purchase a service directly from, let's say, if somebody call or a Facebook advertisement. If they want to work a service provider, they rely heavily on introductions and referrals. So, and that is very important thing. And I see a lot of people, they're trying to approach both together. They're trying to do the webinars, or they're going to try to create some kind of opt-ins if the client visit their websites. But if you're trying to target a business, most likely your business is not going to Google. For example, graphic designer in Los Angeles.
Right.
So it might not be. Of course, every business is different. But it might not be the best strategy when you're really trying to focus on your SEO and make sure that you get discovered by Google, because even if they found you online, it would take a lot of efforts to build that trust, because they're extremely hesitant when they have to work with a new supplier or a new service provider.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to business. So I would actually really focus on building the relationship and try to get your foot in the door through referrals or introductions, rather than, hey, I'm going to make sure that I have a strong social media presence, or I'm going to make sure that my SEO is really good, because that's just not the same kind of purchasing behavior. Yeah.
That's a good point. A very good point that you're making. I think it's possible that small business people may not understand that difference because they're used to operating in a different world. Whereas you said maybe you would be worrying more about your SEO and Googling as opposed to understanding what the big client now, how they're making their choices and what they want to see.
Yeah, it's if they make their choices, a lot of times they evaluate their options through numbers. You know, a lot of times when we approach consumers, there's more emotions behind it, and we talk a lot about emotions, and sometimes it could be a very quick decision making process. Hey, if you're trying to sell $49.99 planner, it's going to be very different compared to if you're trying to establish a long-term relationship with a company. If you're a social media manager and you're hoping to work with a company, you're hoping that this is going to be a long-term relationship. It's almost like dating, and they're not going to just say, hey, wow, this looks exciting, I'm going to start working with her. It takes a lot of time, and that we have to respect our clients' rhythm, and at the same time, we have to lead our clients through the process and be the leader and be the person that could inspire them to make a difference.
That's great. And really excellent points you're making as well, because as you were saying that, I was thinking how, a lot of the online space, and you have the B2B, let's say a business coach is trying to sell some services to another small business or whatever. And a lot of the appeals are more personal because they probably know they're dealing with solopreneurs. So it's a more of a personal approach, like, well, if you do this, you can live this lifestyle or whatever. And that's, as opposed to when you're approaching a big business, you're not going to make that kind of appeal to them.
No. I mean, don't get me wrong, every decision got emotions in it. But the thought process is different. And, I always challenge my clients when I work with my clients. These people who own businesses or who are responsible for a department or for a result of business decisions, they always think of decisions with numbers. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they only make decisions according to logic. But challenge yourself and try to give them some numbers. Try to create some kind of business metrics that they could use to really clearly define what the benefits you're trying to trying to give. And if you just simply say, go back to the social media manager example, and a lot of people, I hear people say is that, hey, I'm going to help you get closer to your end consumer. I'm going to increase your engagement, and I'm going to increase, get more likes. But we always have to think about, what are the end result? What's really the result? What's the business results to them? And that's really how you stand out and how you stand out compared to the others. Because after all, it's a very competitive world out there. So use numbers, use business metrics, and these are the language that a lot of a lot of your ideal clients listen to.
That's great, and that's very good distinctions to make. We're going to be taking a very short break, and we'll be right back. Law Depot is a leading publisher of do-it-yourself legal documents. They offer state-specific business documents that can be completed within minutes. Visit womenentrepreneursecrets.com for your exclusive 5% discount off all documents. Simply click on Legal Forms in the top menu to get to the selection of documents for the busy entrepreneur. Don't see the document you want listed? No problem. Just click on any link and it'll take you to the Law Depot site, and you can see the entire selection. Forms include estate planning, business forms, family, financial, and real estate. There's a lot there on the site, and when you go through the womenentrepreneursecrets.com link, you'll receive your 5% discount. That's Law Depot, the leading publisher of do-it-yourself legal documents. Hi everyone, And we're back with Melinda Chen of Women Making Big Sales. And we're talking about how small business owners can approach the bigger clients. And there's a lot of good stuff here. So, I hope you're taking notes about what Melinda's sharing. So Melinda, there are entrepreneurs. I've definitely interacted with a few who create a product and they want to approach a retailer. It seems like that'd be really competitive. We're talking about competitive. Are there any things that you recommend, that ways that they really should prepare for that kind of thing?
Especially for product owned entrepreneurs. They first thing is to make sure that, and I'm going to say that this might be a bit controversial. Every time I say it to my clients, they say what? But if you sell a product, the reality is that your product is always secondary. They buy it not because of your product. So you really have to understand. So why are they buying it? Most buyers of retailers, they're buying it because of a bigger picture. They're looking at their store as a whole, or their business as a whole. So you really have to step back and say, well, it's not just about how great my product is, because it is a given. There are so many amazing, wonderful products out there. And you look at your competitors, there are so many people selling similar stuff, and you've got great competition. So you got to step back and say, how do I help my potential client as a business? How do I become a business advisor to them? And what kind of expertise of my background, my network, my personal experience, my professional experience, with my background, how do I help them better? And then the product is given afterwards. So, I would really welcome the entrepreneurs who own products. Is look at your product. How will that complement the whole store? How does that help enhance their social media presence? How does that help them enhance their marketing presence? How do they help them sell better? And also, maybe, your payment terms, your deliveries, how do you help them reduce their overall business risks? So these are the bigger pictures. Think of yourself as a business advisor, not just a product. You, yourself, as an entrepreneur, you are the business advisor. So how do you help your potential clients sell better, reduce their business risks? And that might be a better approach, and that will help you stand out, because then, once you've done all the advice, or once you've done all the thinking, then your product, you present your product, and of course the product needs to be quality products and provide timely delivery. But that's what I would always recommend to my clients.
And that, yet again, it's really great advice, because it is looking at the big picture, and you're talking about a big company that really, retail, they're definitely looking at that bottom line. They're looking at what's selling, what's not selling. Years ago, I worked for a company called Bamberger's, which was bought by Macy's here in New Jersey. So that, anybody from New Jersey may remember that name. And I worked there for maybe about a year or so in their program, like as a manager right on the retail floor. And it was a really fast-paced environment, and definitely lots of numbers and checking what's selling and moving things around the floor, and a lot of strategy that the shopper may not even realize is going on behind the scenes. So what you're saying makes perfect sense to me for those entrepreneurs listening who have a product or something, and they're thinking, oh, I'd like to get this in this store, that store. They really have to think about the big picture and do their research, because it's there's a lot going on there behind the scenes.
Yeah, especially for small entrepreneurs who are trying to get into a retail space.
Yes.
I say the first thing, especially since you're a small business, the first thing a lot of retailers or buyers, what they're worried about is the delivery. If I were to place this order for you, would you be able to deliver it? And that's really the basic, and you have to make sure that you do everything you can to really assure them that you have the capacity to provide timely delivery, and that is the basic. And it's not just about how great your product is. Making sure, for example, if you have alliance with other products, and make sure you boost your presence to show them that you have the capacity or you have the ability to deliver the products online, the products on time, and then be creative. You understand there's be open to provide innovative packaging, payment terms, marketing efforts. So look beyond your product and then and think of the big picture.
Yes, that's excellent, and I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs really have to keep in mind. It's a bigger picture, and also on your end, what are the things that you're doing, and how are you preparing before you even go in there? You really have to think bigger maybe than you're maybe doing right now, and to just see how you could fit into what they're doing and how you can help them as well, because that's what they want to know. So Melinda, please share with everyone where people can find you.
People can find me on my website. It's called womenmakingbigSales.com, and then maybe I'll leave you with a link. I also have a link for a sales script if people are interested, where I share all different sales scripts, word-by-word sales scripts that people can use under different circumstances. For example, if you want to try to get an appointment with a potential client, but you don't want to sound pushy, how do you phrase it? Or if you want to bring, you had a great conversation with somebody you met at a networking event, you've established some kind of friendship, but how do you bring that to a business conversation? So I can share that link with you, and anybody who are interested in taking a look at that script and see if they can use it for their own business. I think that's so far a very useful tools for entrepreneurs. And you can also find me on Facebook. It's at Women Making Big Sales as well.
Yes, I think that sales script will be so helpful for people to follow, because if you really don't know, what's the right way to do these things, how to phrase things, that will provide a lot of confidence for people who are really just starting out and getting into this whole process.
Yes. I mean, the more research you do about your clients, and the more confident you will feel. And with the sales script, you'll see it's so easy to do. They're so simple. And you'll notice, wow, it doesn't feel like I'm selling. It feels like I'm just creating more conversation. And women should be the best salespeople in the world. I really believe so.
Yes.
We're great relationship builders. We're great listeners. We're all about collaborations. And there's no reason why we should not be good in sales, because God's given us, the nature's given us lots of great talents, qualities.
I agree. I agree. A cousin of mine is very much a conversational type of person, and she has done fantastic in sales. She went from clothing retail to cell phones, and she was successful in every retail environment she was in, because she likes to talk to people, and how she makes that connection is what leads to her success. So what you're saying is so true. Sales is not the stereotype that a lot of us may think it is, someone pushy and obnoxious. It really is not that way. So if you're feeling intimidated, anyone listening, it really isn't the way that a lot of us maybe had believed it was. So you really don't have to feel bad about getting into this and connecting with these bigger clients. So Melinda, we have a couple minutes left. Are there any other points that you'd like to make that maybe you feel you want to address more, or something you want to add that we haven't talked about?
I think maybe one thing that I really believe in is, a lot of people ask me that, if I'm a small entrepreneur, like, how would I be able to sell to big? Can I really sell to big companies?
Yeah.
Especially when there's so much competition. Can I really sell to big companies? And I really believe so, and I've seen it happen. I've worked with clients that happens. But the first step, if you were to really want to sell to big companies, the first step I really encourage people to do is be very focused in terms of who you're targeting. And what I meant is, if you say, hey, I'm human resources managers, or I'm marketing manager, and I would like to sell to startups. And that's just not going to be not going to be focused enough. How small entrepreneurs can differentiate themselves from the other competitors is building a very personal relationship with your potential clients. And the only way to do it and still handle everything you have to do as an entrepreneur is to really make sure that you have a very targeted and reasonable market that you can spend time on, you can network with, you can talk to, and to really understand their pains, and to become the insider of the company, of the industry you're trying to pick. So it is very possible, but if you want to succeed as a small entrepreneur selling to big companies, you have to pick a very focused industry. And I understand some people might say, hey, if I'm too focused, what if I miss out all the other opportunities? I think I can help so many people. Don't worry. You can spend your 2 months of your time really focusing on one industry. And then once you're successful, once you've been able to secure some clients, it will not stop you from going after different industries. So you're not losing any opportunities. But we're just simply, I think it's just so important to be very focused and making sure that you're not spreading yourself too thin. So it is doable, but you definitely have to be very focused.
And that's very good advice for people to consider. As they make their plans, and if they want to connect with these clients, that they know, what the steps that they have to take and keep in mind. And also, Melinda is here as well as a sales coach, and she has information and assistance for those of you as well who feel like, okay, I really think I have to work with an expert on this to get me going. You also have some wonderful help here as well. So, Melinda, this time has gone by so quickly. I think this is a topic we could talk about for for a long time. So, perhaps you'll when you have a chance, come back and join us again for another related discussion, because this really is something that we don't get to talk about often enough, I think, sales. And it is so important for us to come up to speed on this. So, so wrapping up, are there any, final thoughts, or have we covered everything?
Yeah, well, I just want to share with you my favorite quote. If your dreams do not scare you, they are just not big enough. So if ever you feel something and you feel like, wow, can I really achieve it? And you feel hesitant or you feel a bit scared, that might be a good sign. That might mean that you're onto something amazing and great. So embrace that. And I really hope that, I think we're going through this amazing time. And women are really redefining how we live and how we want to live our lives. And I really hope that we can see a lot more successful female entrepreneurs out there.
Yes, well said. Thank you so much, Melinda. I think that's perfect way for us to wrap up the show. I'm so glad that you could join me today. It's been a wonderful conversation.
Yeah, it's been amazing speaking with you, Deborah.
And everyone, I know you enjoyed it, so please make sure you share this show on social media. Please tell your friends to listen in. Check us out, dbcoach.podomatic.com, and iTunes, of course, and come to the blog, womenentrepreneurssecrets.com, and you can also find links on there. And as we go forward and we add other platforms, and that's also a place for you to check out to keep up with everything going on. So once again, it's been Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Deborah Bailey. So glad you could join us today, and see you again next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us. You can also join in the conversation on facebook.com/womenentrepreneurs and on the website, womenentrepreneursecrets.com. And don't forget to listen in on dbcoach.podomatic.com and on iTunes.